Hey Ricky?
Yes, sir.
What happened if we were just gonna build a truck and we bolted together?
We are losers, guys. Been like
Alright guys, last episode you've seen us mock up the whole outer shell of this truck just so we can get a good visual representation. Now it's time to hop into the real customization and fab work.
We decided we're going to go with a smooth look on the firewall. So I remade these pieces here. It's going to give us a nice firewall. Once we incorporate our top pieces, it's really going to blend nicely. As you see there, we'll pull all this together. It's going to be really nice.
Me and Ricky knocked out the firewall yesterday. We really just wanted to go with the smooth look. Richard didn't like the dimple dye look. Man, I say it turned out freaking great. So I got some Titan CNC here and it's time to get an idea of what we're gonna do, man. This is the factory grill. This is all 4 pieces of it. This piece is not there and then these 2 buckets aren't there. Those are the key ones that we're trying to integrate in.
These will be cake to integrate,
Okay.
no problem. We will have to cut it in the middle,
Okay.
Because our machine bed isn't quite long enough to hold
Right.
this whole thing. So we'll probably cut it in the middle, and then we'll have a third piece that'll kind of tie it together and make it look seamless and beautiful, and it'll look like it's one piece.
So outside of this, kind of want to show y'all what we're talking about, the GMC to GMG logos. Y'all want to come check them out real quick?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
It would be sick to have the big billet letters GMG. We want to do it here on the hood. We have a spot on the tailgate that says GMC on it too. They're actually embossed in the metal back here.
yeah.
This is kind of Richard's idea, shaving those off and then having the actual billet letters back here of GMG. Would I just scan that for y'all too?
Yeah,
or would
just
you
scan
pull-
that way we know how big to make the pocket on the back side. and-
Dude, that 3D scanner's just changed the game for everybody, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it has. Yeah. Still requires work from people like us, but
Yeah.
you know, it
least
at
we're
least
not-
gives us something that we can work with.
We'll get right on these scans and get them to y'all because I know that you need time to design too. But what do you say, maybe 2 weeks? We'll come up and does that give y'all enough time and we can come up visit y'all and see how it's going?
Yeah, that'd be great. Once we got the scans, we'll get right on it.
The guys over at Shining 3D has really hooked us up with a badass 3D scanner and laptop, the whole thing, just set us up. So what we're gonna do is get the scan of the grill. Anything that we do, we have to throw these little dot points, like it's kind of just a point of reference for the laser to see, to know what part you're scanning. So it'll know not to scan this box and only scan the grill. And the goal of it is to, at any point, that scanner can see 4 of the individual dots. So check it out, as it's going, you can see all the cross hatching of the laser and it's actually building the 3D scan as it's coming across it. It's pretty slick, man. By the time we get this 3D scan, we'll do the top and the bottom side of it, and then the program, you go in, you have to do a couple things, but it'll actually conjoin it to where you have a inside and outside. We'll save this, we'll send it over to the guys at Titans, and they'll be able to build this grill out of billet for us. It's crazy. Technology is wild. There it is.
nice.
So front part of the grill is scanned. We have to flip the bottom over, throw the dots on it, do a scan of it, and then we'll merge them together. We'll have a whole piece.
A few moments later.
So as you can see, both sides are scanned. And even though this is like a thin piece, the mounting and all that stuff is obviously in different places from front to rear. So what we got to do is go in here and actually make sure that they're flipped and lined out the right way. Get them close, and then as you see, it got a separate. So we should hit a line. We have a full 3D grill. I'm ready to get this over to the guys at Titans so they can get rolling on this project.
It's never a dull day around here. Hey, where is everybody? Are we building a truck or did we buy a truck? I mean, these people say nothing is built by you. You just put together stuff. Puzzles are fun. Where did we get this hood? From A&D.
Yeah.
So we bought this hood.
Yeah.
Well, then do they have a point? Are we? Did we buy? Is it built or bought?
Well, do we want to make hoods?
I don't know.
Do we need to make our sheet metal?
And then because it was a step side and we decided we wanted to make it a fleet side, we bought the sides from AMD. Yeah. And we also had to replace the fenders because of rust. Rear end's Curry, isn't it?
Yep.
We bought that too. All we did was buy it. We just bought a rear end because, you know, Curry makes the best rear ends in the fucking world for these trucks. And we just went out and bought one. I bet we could have drug a freaking 10 bolt or a 12 bolt out of something and stuck some fucking gears in it and put some saran wrap around it to keep it from leaking, and we'd have been a real fucking shop building real freaking trucks. We are fucking losers, guys. You bought it, you didn't build it. You went out and you bought parts to build a truck instead of like stamping your own, mining your own ore, melting it down. You know what? We better not have bought the fucking paint to make this thing. You better be right. I know that there are real people out there that just don't agree with buying anything to facilitate the build of, you know, a $100,000 hot rod. So those are some heroes, man, and I look up to them, you know. But here at Gas Monkey, you know, we needed a new motor, so we bought one. We needed some metal, so we bought some. We needed a rear end, so we bought one. I mean,
so Mike Cool will be back Monday. We still don't have inner fenders finished. So the main goal right now is, what is it, Thursday? Today and tomorrow, get these fenders knocked out. We are gonna keep the smooth, clean look going through the fenders too. All these panels are just gonna be slicked down to where it's just a nice, smooth finish on the inside of the, you know, the whole engine bay. This truck, that's what we're going for. That's the look we're going for. Very clean, very simple. Hopefully we can just keep it rolling. All right, guys, so we got the inner fenders knocked out this weekend. Kenny got the AC done. Ricky is about to start building the engine. We got Mike Coy coming in. We got about a month and a half left on this truck.
You know, the truck's gonna be cool, it's gonna look good, but what's really cool is we're not just building a trailer queen. This thing is gonna have a whole lot of go. The L8T engine, somewhere, you know, in the 400 range stock, but what we're looking to be is above 600. So what's so famous about the LS-LT is these are still a in-block single cam push rod motor. So what that means is this cam here has a lifter that rides on top of the cam lobe, and that lifter pushes a push rod which actuates the valve. It's a very simple engine design, has been proven. First thing we're doing is taking out the stock cam, and we're going to be putting in this Scoggins-Dickey racing cam. What it's going to do is give us more lift and duration. It's going to allow the valves to stay open longer. When you're getting more fuel and air in and compressing and getting more fuel and air out, you're going to make more power. Lift is actually going to be the point how high the top of the cam lobe is. That's how far it's going to open the valve. Duration is for how long this area here is going to determine how long the valve stays open. So with the bigger cam, we're gonna have bigger valve springs. We're also gonna do bigger push rods. So we'll be going to a manly push rod that's gonna be able to handle the combined force of a stiffer spring and a higher lift cam.
The Scoggins-Dickey Race Shop sent us a set of their billet valve covers.
That looks really good. I know people paint the stock ones and such, but this is gonna be the way to go. One last thing to do to the motor, we're gonna install this sweet stainless steel fasteners that ARP hooked it up on that are really gonna help go with everything else that we got going with the motor.
we reached out to LME, which is just down the street in Houston, and they were saying, we want to build you one of our custom intakes. Plus, we want to go ahead and throw it on our dyno, run it through the ringer, make sure you're good to go.
Boyd's tanks drop into a factory chassis. I've used them before. They do a great job. What we have is far from a factory chassis. Usually it would sit on the bottom of the frame, but since our chassis sits so low to the ground, our tank literally hits the freaking ground, so we had to raise it up. So what we've done is put in our threaded steel mounts from Boyd. We had to trim them up a little bit to fit the new tank, trim the side. And what we're gonna do is actually drop it down in from the inside of the frame rail and bolt it from the bottom up.
So whoever they bought the truck from clearly was doing some work of their own, and when they put this rocker on, they put it on completely wrong. I believe it's forward a little bit, and then this whole B pillar here is pushed back, so these rockers are like 35 bucks. So we're gonna take this one off, get a new one, and then that'll allow us to be able to roll this B pillar back forward to where it'll fit the door, because it does not fit the door at all. So we do that, and that should move us in the right direction on getting it over to my favorite spot, the body. So now that we got the old rocker off, we're gonna put the door back on and then see if we can get this B pillar to move back forward. And then once we get that, put the new rocker back on, and hopefully we'll be good. Sometime in this truck's life, it's been hit and everything kind of got pushed back. The last guy that put the cab corner on and the rocker panel just, I mean, they replaced it, but they didn't straighten anything when they did it. So all this stuff is pushed back, and we have a huge door gap. So what we're doing now is pulling this back forward, and we're gonna have to cut all this back open and roll that back forward so we can get a good door gap, and then we're gonna have to come back and weld all this up. It's pretty common. These trucks didn't have good gaps to begin with, so, but ours is gonna have really nice gaps.
Very nice gaps. Alright, so we got this cab corner pulled and welded up. So we're gonna leave the bottom until we get the rocker on, check it, but the top laid down pretty good. Our door gap, very close to what we want. We can definitely work with that a lot better. I mean, it was not way back here now, so. Go in a little bit to where I missed as I was welding. Probably throw some silicon bronze TIG in there. Grind it down smooth and keep rolling, dude. Progress. So last night, we got the rocker fitted up on the driver's side, got the door gap corrected. Once we get this rocker welded in, get that side welded up, door gap fixed, man, the cab is 90% done, so it's getting exciting.
So we got the rocker on, working on getting it cleaned up so that Wiener Boy over here can weld it up. But it's kind of the same thing as over there. The rocker was a little too high, the one that they put on, so we need to lower the rocker. We're gonna put the door on and make sure that the gaps fit, but I think this side is a lot better than the other side, so hopefully it won't be as extensive as that side, but we'll see. So we got the doors on and they fit great, finally. Doors, rockers, all that. So now we've started to put the fender on, and we think we need to do a little bit more on the inside.
And I agree. Mike had a really cool idea about the design aspect of Firewall to Fender.
All my ideas are cool.
And I think it'll flow a lot better. You know, they were built off the truck separately. And these type of things happen. You know, you start putting everything together and it just doesn't look like it actually goes together and flows. So Mike had a really good idea to come down, flow into this panel, block that off, and actually more or less bring them together smoothly.
I mean, I like the dragon tooth, but I don't know why we need a dragon tooth on this car. You know, I don't know, is it a megalodon? Anyways, yeah, we got to do something about this. So I would radius that back into our thing, and yeah, fill this gap maybe. And then we got to do something about all this. I don't know what yet, but we got to do something, because all this is going to do is fill up with like dirt, grime, shit.
So other than making an inner fender,
hypodermic needles,
around here,
condoms. I know, in this area, that's what I'm like. Nobody wants to clean that out.
I mean, other than making an inner fender, I mean, try to come up with an idea, because that's all I can come up with.
Okay, so we need turn radius. We talked about that, I understand that. But if we could even bring this all the way up to the fender, now we can't weld to the fender.
bring it
because
flat.
that's a no-no. But yeah, I mean, if we brought something just to kind of deflect all the road grime and shit that's gonna just end up down here, because it ends up there and then down in there and
on the pocket.
Yeah, and then we have a rusty fender.
No, I get it. So what we're gonna do is take the Firewall, smooth it, roll it over into the fender to where they don't look like one piece, but they marry well, you know? There's gonna be a gap there. Obviously you can't have two pieces touching, but it'll just flow a lot better underneath the hood. That's what we're going for, is just a nice smooth look that flows throughout the engine bay. And a little bit more modifications. Part of building the car, you know, definitely a custom car. Got a little bit of a gap, which is good, at least for body clearance. A little bit of body work. And I like it. I think we're looking good so far. Getting there. So the goal was to keep this all smooth and stock and, you know, roll out to the fender, and I think we accomplishments. Jesus, I think we accomplished it. We brought the Firewall over to meet the fender, extended the fender over to the outer fender, and then rolled the Firewall down out underneath. By the time Mike and Kenny do body work, it's gonna look like one piece. You know, you might have a small seam, but factory cars have small seams, so that's what we're shooting for, and I think we nailed it.
So we got our Wizard radiator mocked up in the truck. We could have gone with the factory mounts, which is what Wizard usually does, but it's not as clean of a look, so we wanted a little more clean look, a little more custom look, especially with all the work that's been done in the engine bay. So that's what we did. Took out the original stuff, got it set in where we want it, so now we just need to build some mounts for it. Are you a karaoke guy?
I like me some karaoke, bro.
Really?
Hell yeah.
What's your go-to song?
I went down, 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 and the flames went higher, and it burns, burns, burns. Gonorrhea, or is it chlamydia? I can't remember.
It's that ring of fire.
You left me.
What do you mean? I said I'm not drunk enough.
You don't have to be drunk to sing karaoke.
I do, you know that. You know that firsthand.
Don't you hate it when a friend lets you down? Somebody you counted on your entire life and they back out and let you down?
Well, I really feel like you were gonna like show me how it's done, though.
I just don't karaoke. I don't have a voice for it. I mean, I got a face
Yeah.
for TV and shit, but the voice is just not.
Well, you're doing better than me. I got a face for radio and a voice for silent film.
Well, I know that, but you're willing to give it a shot, and it was pretty good.
So our transmission is out getting built. Right now we have this transmission case in here to mock up where the transmission is going to be. Because our truck is going to be slammed so low, we're having to use a 4x4 transmission pan or transmission tunnel. Which is kind of nice because it's just small modifications and we're going to be able to use it. But on the back here, the drive shaft has to come up higher than it should because we're slammed. So we had to cut out the bed floor, and now we're going to have to make our own cover for the rear part of the tunnel.
We got these pieces going go right there. This one go right there. A little bit of it's gonna look nice.
What I'm working on now is we're making a filler panel. Both of our batteries are getting mounted underneath onto the frame right there. We figured it would be a good idea to run a couple leads so that in case we have a failure or something like that, we can jump the truck. We're also running a cutoff switch just in case, I don't know, in case it has a draw or something, which it shouldn't, but you never know. So we're gonna run a cutoff switch and we're running these, so we're building a box. It's gonna go in our panel and will be hidden so that it's there in case we need it.
So got done welding up the floor pan. This is actually gonna get welded on here permanently. It's gonna get the strength back in there that it needs, so it doesn't buckle up or make movements and this and that. But this is also gonna help us get our transmission tunnel to go on and removable to be able to access the transmission whenever we need to, like it was factory.
So before we send this motor down to Houston for the dyno, we want to get it in there. Jay had a great point. We need to get it in there, mock up everything that we can.
So we've test fit everything. There's literally a country mile between the front pulley and this giant radiator we got from the guys at Wizard Cooling, and this is more than capable of cooling what I perceive to be a 600 to 700 horsepower engine. Big engine fits perfectly. TCI did a great job of locating it in the chassis just about as far back as you could possibly get. All that's up to do now really is tear this whole thing apart and get this motor down to LME and get it dynoed.
All right, guys, here we are down at LME. The guys have already got the engine put on the dyno here. It's all hooked up, getting the intake ready. We're gonna put the intake on, and I can't wait to see what she does. I got Colin from LME here, and a question I've always had is when you're getting the engine on the engine dyno, you're taking it up to max RPM and finding horsepower. What procedure, what safeguards do they have for a break-in, you know, of the engine? So that's what I'm curious to find out is.
Yeah, so the nice thing about getting an engine like a full long block from LME is it's not even an option. We dyno every single long block that we build. So the process in doing so is as soon as it's done, we'll put it on our engine dyno. Once we get it on there, we'll take it up to about 3,000 and we'll start varying the load a little bit on the engine dyno. It simulates putting it in a car and loading it and unloading it. The worst thing you can do on a brand new engine is just sit there at the same RPM and just let it sit there. To do the proper ring break-in, you're going to want to vary the load a bunch. After that, we do about 15 pulls, starting really small pulls, and we'll just start increasing about 100 RPM each time until we get to the desired RPM that the customer wants to get to. Whether a stock one like this, we'll probably pull it to maybe 65. Something that we normally do on race engines, we'll go all the way up to 9,000 depending on how serious the engine is. But our normal street car goes to about 7,000 to 8,000.
Are we getting close to 600?
It'll hit 600. We just barely pulled in. It's already making good power.
We are finished up here at LME with the engine dyno. We're right where we want to be as far as horsepower and torque. Very impressive. We're really happy with it. We are going to have to continue our throttle body quest because the race throttle bodies are just going to be too much for a motor that we want to be driving. We want to have really good drivability, and we got to have that classic load. But the important thing is the intake that they built is just badass. Looks great, sounds great, engine makes great horsepower. Cannot wait to get this engine back to Gas Monkey Garage and get it in the truck.